soon followed in 1955 by Gold Town, a depiction of a Gold Rush era village, complete with miners, hold-up reenactments, and country western music.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce somebody that actually played at the Danbury Fair, and he's known throughout. Cowboy Billy Smith. Billy's going to do, he's got a couple of songs, and he's got stories about the Danbury Fair. He played with many of the performers in Gold Town. And he's going to do a song that was made famous. And Walt Disney helped make this song famous because all the movie.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Billy, and hello, everybody, and welcome to the Palace and the Danbury Fair Revue. Very nostalgic event for me. As Billy told you, yes, indeed, I was fortunate to be a part of the shows at the Great Danbury State Fair. Born on a mountain top in Tennessee, greatest state in the land of the free. Raised in the woods so he knew every tree, killed in the fire when he was only 3. Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier. Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier. He went off to Congress to serve us stout, fixing up the government laws as well. Served under Washington, so we hear tell, hatched up the crack in the Liberty Bell. Davy, oh Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier. Davy Crockett, serving his country well once more. Davy Crockett, serving his country well. Saying before, this is all about the Great Danbury State Fair, of course, and in the early 60s is when I was performing at the fair in Gold Town, and Gold Town was quite a venue, I want to tell you. I think it was the happiest venue of all the venues in the fair, and they were all happy, of course, but with the music that came out of Gold Town, it was just, oh, it was so much fun. When I was entertaining there, had the big old, looked like a chuck wagon. That's basically what it was, and that's where we entertainers performed on in that chuck wagon. And the headline group at that time was a group called Bud and Carolyn Chase and the AAA Ranch Gang from Kent, Connecticut. Any of you all remember that name, Bud and Carolyn Chase? We're going back 50 years now, so there are a few here that do remember that. And when I sang, I was on stage singing along with yodeling Ginger May, as in Ginger and then May, M-A-E. And I never sang with a final. I sung with quite a few yodelers over the years. Never did sing with one any finer than Miss Ginger May. She was like, yeah, she really was some supreme yodeler. And the fair itself, Gold Town was just, as I said before, just a wonderful place to entertain, and it was just so much fun, and I look forward to it so very much, entertaining there. Okay, Billy. Wow. Cheers for the great Danbury State Fair Revue.
Now, there was a part of the fair that I know we went to Sacred Heart School, so we could never go near it. Sometimes there was dancing girls at the fair. And I know David Colello's in the audience tonight. He'll vouch for this. The nuns would never let the boys go. They would find out. They would find out if the boys even walked by the girly show or any of the exotic dances. And David, you can ask David Colello because he's here. But we have a bit of something that's maybe it wasn't exactly reminiscent. Wait a minute, he's reminiscent of the fair.
Hurry, 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 step right up. The show is about to begin. It's only 1 thin dime, 1/10 part of a dollar. You are going to see this young lady dance the dance of the mystic anacondas. You are going to see this lady dance the same dance that she danced before the crowned heads of Europe. You are going to see this lady move every muscle in her body in ways that you won't believe. You fellas come a little closer. You won't see this at home. It's only 1 thin dime. You've got to hurry, 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 and step right up. The show is on the inside, and the show is about to begin. Another unique feature of the fair was the daily street parade. The crowds were pushed back at 2:30 every afternoon to make way for parade floats, many drum corps, a whole lineup of horse-drawn coaches and wagons, and quite often famous hitches like the Budweiser Clydesdales. This whole ensemble would wind its way through the fairgrounds and onto the racetrack, where each unit was announced and many performed as part of the grandstand show. Before we break for a 20-minute intermission, let me remind you that representatives Museum and Historical Society are selling Danbury Fair DVDs in the lobby. What a great way to support our local history. Also, representatives of the Southern New York Racing Association have racing memorabilia for sale. And if you want to learn a Lindy Hop, sign up with the Brookfield Red Stair Studios. We'll be right back. 1, 2, 3. City's Grand Central Station. This was soon followed in 1955 by Gold Town, a depiction of a Gold Rush era village, complete with miners, hold-up reenactments, and country western music.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce somebody that actually played at the Danbury Fair, and he's known throughout. Cowboy Billy Smith.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Billy, and hello, everybody, and welcome to the Palace and the Danbury Fair Revue. Very nostalgic event for me. As Billy told you, yes, indeed, I was fortunate to be a part of the shows at the Great Danbury State Fair. Born on a mountain top in Tennessee, greatest state in the land of the free, raised in the woods so he knew every tree, killed in the fire when he was only 3. Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier. Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier. He went off to Congress to serve us spell, fixing up the government laws as well. Served under Washington, so we hear tell, patched up the crack in the Liberty Bell. Davy, oh Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier. Davy Crockett, serving his country well once more. Davy Crockett, serving his country well. Saying before, this is all about the Great Danbury State Fair, of course. And in the early 60s is when I was performing at the fair in Gold Town. And Gold Town was quite a venue, I want to tell you. I think it was the happiest venue of all the venues in the fair. And they were all happy, of course, but with the music that came out of Gold Town, it was just, oh, it was so much fun. When I was entertaining there, had the big old, looked like a chuck wagon. That's basically what it was, and that's where we entertainers performed on in that chuck wagon. And the headline group at that time was a group called Bud and Carolyn Chase and the AAA Ranch Gang from Kent, Connecticut. Any of you all remember that name, Bud and Carolyn Chase? We're going back 50 years now, so there are a few here that do remember that. And when I sang, I was on stage singing along with yodeling Ginger May. Ginger and then May. And I never sang with a final. I sung with quite a few yodelers over the years. Never did sing with one any finer than Miss Ginger May. She was quite, yeah, she really was some supreme yodeler. And the fair itself, Goldtown was just, as I said before, just a wonderful place to entertain, and it was just so much fun, and I look forward to it so very much, entertaining there. Okay, Billy.
Take them to Texas, Billy.
Stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas. The prairie sky, wide and high, deep in the heart of Texas. The coyotes wail along the trail, deep in the heart of Texas. The cowboys cry, hi-yi-yi-hi, deep in the heart of Texas. The sage in bloom is like perfume, deep in the heart of Texas. Reminds me of the one I love, deep in the heart of Texas. The oil wells are full of smell, deep in the heart of Texas. Big doggies fall and ball and fall, deep in the heart of Texas. Do it again, Billy. Those cactus plants are top on plants, deep in the heart of Texas. That's why perhaps they all wear shats, deep in the heart of Texas. Deep in the heart of Texas. Deep in the heart of Texas. And one more big cheer for the great Danbury State Fair Revue.
At the fair, the stock car races, presented by the New York Racing Association, became an annual summer-long Saturday night event with huge popularity. Crowds of up to 10,000 attended weekly. The voice of the Danbury Fair Race Arena for 24 years was Danbury's favorite announcer, Paul Baker. Sadly, Paul recently passed away at the age of 94. We decided that the best way to honor Paul would be to play the video of his crowd-pleasing appearance here on this stage last year. Southern New York Racing Association became an annual summer-long Saturday night event with huge popularity. Crowds of up to 10,000 attended weekly. We are honored to have with us tonight the voice of the Danbury Fair Race Arena, Paul Baker. Paul was our race announcer for many, many years.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. There it is. On behalf of Danbury Fair President John W. Leahy, Vice President Fred Fern, and the Southern New York Racing Association, this is Paul Baker bidding you welcome to stock car racing at the Danbury Fair Race Arena, the East Coast Beautiful Racing Team. It doesn't seem like 32 years ago that I last spoke those words of you may have been there on that last night, but I think of all of the wonderful things that happened. First of all, I guess some of you know the story, perhaps some of you don't, as to how I got there in the first place. It was by luck. The person doing the announcing regularly had laryngitis. They called me and asked me what I would fill in for her. I had not seen the stock car races. I didn't know one driver from the other, but they asked me if I would fill in, so I used her notes and my voice and got through the night to the point where during the winter months, Ed Pierce and Mo Conrad and Bill McCarthy came up and asked me whether if I would accept the job of doing the races for them for 1 year. I did. Every Saturday night for 24 years. I think of the happy nights, the good races. A guy could take his wife and 2 kids to the racetrack, buy 2 tickets, have a couple of hot dogs and a beer and stuff, and pay about $12 or $13 for the night. Nowadays, you can't even go to the theater. And I think of all the good things that happened at the track. The fans and how good they were to me, and how the drivers were so good to me. And I think of the nights when we had so many nice things happen. During the spirit of 76 year, when all the nation was celebrating 76, all the drivers' cars in the feature race carried a flag alongside their window. And Ed Pierce sang "God Bless America" as those drivers went around the track. It was one of the most impressive nights at the race arena. And I think of the night that Chick Stockwell, who was one of the racing fans, probably the most popular driver over the years, took a car, his own car had broken down and wouldn't run that night, so Chick took a car that never did anything, qualified the car out of the consolation race, started next to last in the feature, and finished second in the main event. If it had gone 2 more laps, he'd have won the damn thing. I also think of some of the sad nights. On my birthday one year, 1979, Teddy Abbott was killed in a freak accident, the only fatality that we had at the track. Al Liddell died on the track, but he was stricken, pulled his car up, and he died on the track. But Teddy was killed in a freak accident. The last words he spoke on this earth, he had an interphone in connection with mine in the booth. He called up every night of the race. The last thing he would say, he'd turn to me at the interphone, look up at the booth and say, "Paul, remember now, it's an armco barrier, not a fence. Have a good night, Mr. Baker." And 3 laps later, he was dead. And one of the toughest things I've ever had to do in the booth at the racetrack, whenever there was a major accident, if a person had to be taken to the hospital, we'd always say, "He's being taken to the hospital for observation." And that night, whoever was attending Teddy on the track called me on the interphone and say, "Paul, he's gone." The toughest thing I've ever had to do is get on the mic and say, "Teddy's been injured. He's being taken to the hospital for observation," knowing all the time that he was gone. But the happiest night of all was when the club chose fit to honor me in '81 before my family and my fans to give me a night at the race arena, a night that I will never forget. And I think of all the wonderful things that happened to me and how fortunate I've been to be there. And I owe so much to the Southern New York Racing Association and to the race arena. And I know, as you listen to this, I've got to, before I utter my last line, I'm overwhelmed, as I'm sure you are, about this presentation that's taking place tonight. The music is fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, this show belongs at the Palace Theater in Waterbury, or maybe on Broadway, but it belongs somewhere where thousands